Homan podcast time.
That's right. Binford Tools is proud to present a Santa Claus's podcast. My name is Adam. You're my co-host, Jordan. Hey, Jordan.
Hey, Adam. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. We're just rolling into it here.
Yeah, and we're in a very festive mood because I think this show might have kicked off my holiday season.
I mean, it's pretty early on in the year, so it wouldn't surprise me. Oh,
I mean, I guess I went to Bronner's over the weekend, so it's kind of like hand in hand. You know?
And for people that are outside of maybe mid-Michigan, what is Bronner's?
Well, I mean, if I recall, there's actually billboards in Florida, so you should probably know about it.
Oh,
everywhere.
No kidding.
Yeah, I always remember seeing one, because we would always drive to Florida, and we'd always see one like in there. I'm like, man, that's... that can't be that effective of a billboard. But yeah, it is a winter wonderland that is open, if the sign is correct, 361 days a year. Wow. And just a mega store with all sorts of Christmas goodies. We got stockings.
So what do you think the 4 days are that they're not open? So we're talking like Christmas Day, Christmas Eve,
Thanksgiving.
What's the fourth one? It'd be funny if it was like Arbor Day or something weird.
It's National Donut Day.
Deer hunting season opening day.
Yeah, no, that is big around here right now. That's so I hear.
This is the second Bronner's conversation I've had in less than 36 hours. I was at improv classes, so yeah, I'll be extra funny today. I was at improv last night, and my teacher of the class was born in Mount Pleasant, and she was talking about the area, and Bronner's, naturally came up.
Naturally, yeah. Maybe the other day is New Year's or something. I don't know. I have no idea.
Oh, you want to circle back on that?
I mean, we can't just open a thread like that and then not, finish it. So here we are.
It could be New Year's. Yeah, I'm gonna do some research, and you can expect next episode to start off with me giving you those 4 days that Bronner's is closed.
Yeah, nobody wants to Google it, so they have to come back to the podcast.
We'll do the research for you. It's the least we can do.
Least we can do.
Literal least. But yeah, hey, we're back in the saddle shoes again, as it were. And we're talking about the Santa Clauses, season 2. But before we get into that, Jordan, my sister has been watching Home Improvement. She's going back and she's watching it with her family.
Good choice. Always a good choice.
I guess, is it on Disney Plus? Is that what
it
the
is
deal
now?
Is? Okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I was wondering how she was watching it, but I didn't take the next step to ask. So she's been watching it kind of slowly. And the other day, I woke up to a text from my sister, which is not uncommon because she's in Greece and there's a time zone difference, obviously. And the text was one word, and do you want to know what that word was? Rondell.
Rondell.
Exclamation point. Rondell. She's got Rondell fever, Jordan.
Well, who wouldn't?
Yeah. So
Jill, your sister. That's it.
I don't know. I hadn't thought about Rondell Kittleman in a long time, but she was really impressed by the performance, and I believe the actor's name is Sam McMurray. And we talked about Rondell for a little bit, so it does the heart good around this time of year to talk about Rondell with your siblings. So I'd recommend you do it as well.
Yeah, that's a really, really good idea. I was strolling. I was not strolling. I was scrolling through the holiday collection that they have on Disney Plus, and they do have a couple of holiday episodes on there from Home Improvement. And the one that struck my eye was I'll Be Home for Christmas, I think it was. And it had like two of his brothers as like the thumbnail. And I was like, yeah, that one's getting a lot of click-throughs.
Yikes. Is it A-I-S-L-E? Is it Isle or Isle?
I think it's just the regular spelling.
No wordplay.
Yeah. I don't really remember it that much, but maybe somebody passed away in that one or something.
Here's
That's why
my
the whole
memory of
family's
it.
together.
It's barely a Christmas episode, and they go back to the house Tim's mom lives in, and they kind of fight a lot. It turns out, well, siblings may argue in real life, it's not that fun to see it on a television show. And that was what I learned with Tim and his brothers.
No. Well, we all learned a lot.
But he doesn't have any brothers in the Santa Clauses.
Yet. There's still time.
Season
they're
3.
They're retrofitting Mad Santa, so you can do whatever you want.
It is a bit of a retrofit, but we'll get into it. But otherwise, things are good. We're going to be... How many episodes are there going to be in this first season? How many episodes are there going to be in this this season of the Santa Clauses?
I think there's going to be 6 as well.
Okay.
That's what they did in the first season. But yeah, they start open with Chapter 7, the Kribble Krabble Clause. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
You're dang right. But before we get into that, I have a couple more things I want to get off my chest.
Oh,
if you don't mind.
Please take the floor.
Okay. So today is Tuesday. I'm going to be seeing you next Saturday. Or this Saturday, I guess you'd say.
In 6 days from this
Yeah.
moment. Yeah.
When do you think is the last time we saw each other? Yeah, exactly.
I was going to say the beach.
Yeah, okay, so like 5 years ago?
Yeah, it's been a while.
Wow, okay.
Are you
so
any different? I mean, you look different? No, I see you on Zoom right now. You look the same. Handsome lad.
Probably a little more ripped than you remember, but...
I doubt it. I don't think you could possibly...
Oh, man, well, I can't speak to that.
Still got a good fashion sense. I am wondering about that hat. What's that logo?
This is I'll say our mutual friend, Anthony Rosito's physical
I like
therapy.
that you say it like
I'll say our mutual friend. I mean, I don't know.
It's true. I haven't talked to him in a while, but
I don't know where you guys are with things. But this is his logo for his business, and he was up visiting me about a month ago, and he gave me this hat.
Wow. And boy, does it look good. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, so it's been a while. I'm excited to see you. Unfortunately, I'll break the news on air. My wife is going to be at a craft day, so you're just going to be stuck with me and the kids, but that's all right.
Yeah, I mean, my wife is going to be there as well, so you'll get to also meet her, so you should perhaps include her in statements just to show respect for my marriage. But
I will not. I refuse.
All right.
Not until I actually meet her.
So your kids are not going to be there?
No, my kids will be here, just not my wife.
See, I was hoping your wife would be, but your kids wouldn't.
Yeah, you lost out on that.
Just kidding.
I don't know. If I recall last time, you and Olivia hit it off, so.
You're right. And actually, I remember, this is not interesting at all, but we golfed together about maybe 3 years ago. I would say
that's
you,
right.
me, and Jared, so that would have been the last time.
Yeah.
Anyways, no golfing this time. Looking forward to seeing you. Something that's kind of striking me as I'm talking to you right now is you seem a little bit like a man lost. And what I mean by that is you might be in need of some wisdom. So let's go ahead and play that clip.
Sure, it's all the same to me. Oh. Ah! Oh, no. Oh, yeah.
Now it's time for Bits of Wisdom.
All right, yeah, I am definitely lost, and as anyone knows, when you're lost, you go to Tim Allen. So please hit me with some wisdom here.
Jerky from a cow, a buffalo, even a turkey is nature's most perfect food. Beef jerky is a grown-up's V8 juice. It makes you feel like a real cowboy. I reached for my jerky when I want something not sweet but substantial. This has been your bit of wisdom.
You know, I'm going to hit the road after our podcast, and I'm going to kind of be on the road for dinner.
Yeah.
And I think I might have to grab some jerky. It'll be substantial. So this is really fitting.
It's like V8 for adults.
You know, V8 is like V8 for adults.
I was just about to say that. Is that a kid's drink?
That's news to me.
News to me. Well, hey, I'm gonna commit to bringing that back this season. It's been a long time.
It's amazing that you still have the same, like you nailed the voice that you used to do.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know if I got all the wording right, but as long as I still have the voice, that's the biggest thing. All right,
that's all that matters.
Enough preamble. I just was basically building to that. So got there, nailed it. Let's keep going.
Okay, so the Kribble Krabble Clause. This, I was a bit confused by the written by section here on IMDb. There's, of course, Jack Burdett, who created this for TV, and they're basing the character on Leo Benvenuti and Steve Rudnick's character from the original Santa Claus. Then we've got as story editors Haley Frazier and Emily Burdett, and then there's a staff writer accredited as well as Camille Patro. Or Patro. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. But so you tell me which one was the writer. I guess the staff writer? It's a lot of information.
Like when we cover like bad Disney movies and there's like 6 people that it took to write it. It doesn't usually bode well. It seems like a lot of cooks in the kitchen. I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure what to make of that. Directed
by Jason Weiner, who did 3 episodes last season. I think episodes 1, 2, and 5, and is mostly known for Modern Family. Of course, we see Eric Stone Street later in this episode, so some crossover there. This episode aired November 8th, 2023. And that's going to lead us to alternative titles.
Yeah.
Of which you, how many do you have?
1, 2, 3, 6.
Okay. I have 4, so you can go first.
All right. Kribble Krabble, more like dribble drabble. I'm back.
Yep. I'm gonna lead with my worst one. The Nutty Nutcracker.
That's your worst. We're in for some fun.
Oh, yeah.
How about this? Maverick Clause.
Okay.
Tim just kind of does whatever he wants.
He does. He does. I have two related to that, so I'm gonna do my clause one first.
Yeah.
And this is my favorite one. A clause for alarm.
Yeah, it was some of your finest work.
I think. Thank you. It took me 33 years, but I made it.
Some of your finest work. Great. Okay. Sorry. Yeah, my turn. That's how this works.
You were so distracted.
I was really impressed. All right. You Betty check with Betty. You better check with Betty. Yeah.
I've got two Bettys.
Two Bettys do make a right?
Yeah, definitely. We've done this probably 3 times, just based on different episodes of Home Improvement. But Bye Bye Betty is mine. So go ahead.
With you so far?
Yep.
This one is alluding kind of to a different... Something in this episode reminded me of a different film. So I'm going to give you the title, and I'm going to see if you know what I'm referencing. The Last Santa Suit You'll Ever Wear.
I don't know. What is it?
I'm referencing the film Men in Black, and I'll circle back to it later on in the episode, but they do something where they sort of erase the memory, and there's a line
Sure.
there, you know.
Yeah, so. I was trying to think of dusting for a while, and then I guess my mind got dusted. My last one is When Betty is away, Santa will play.
Me likey. All right. Here comes Santa Claus, right down Santa Claus Lane.
I like it. Nice. Is that you got one more, right?
Yeah. Okay. I saved my worst for last, but again, this is we'll just see how much you know about certain characters in this show. But this Christmas, the snow is extra fluffy. Fluffy back.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in years, and he's here.
I've never seen him. Really?
Well, I feel like when we were in high school, he was popular, maybe.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen him since then. So here he is.
He went into hiding and he came back for season 2 of the Santa Claus. Glad to have you, Fluffy.
Totally worth it. Yeah, so that's a good addition of
Not
alternative titles. I'm glad we opened strong. This episode, however, does not open strong.
See, I did something I haven't done in a long time, and that's handwritten notes because I was watching on my laptop at a coffee shop. So,
Anybody ever see you do that?
I did pause it at a certain point to go to the bathroom, and I was like, if somebody looks at my screen, they're gonna think I'm weird. But
They wouldn't be. They wouldn't be wrong.
They wouldn't be wrong. So you don't think this? Okay, let me pose a question before we get in the episode. I'm a little surprised this got a second season. This show. Did you ever hear anybody discuss the show's first season besides like you and I? I just don't feel like it had much of an impact culturally.
No, we talked about this a little bit, and I went and listened to our finale last year, and we both were pretty much like, I don't think this will get a season 2, and it didn't have much of an impact, and there was only one other person that I had talked to about it. So I can't, I can't think of. And then I remember my wife. I think she watched the finale with me, and she's like, "Oh boy, why did I watch this?" So we're in for it for season 2, I guess. Yeah,
my wife looked at the title of the episode and said, "What have you gotten yourself into?"
And here we are. I mean, so I did not watch it at a coffee shop. I was in my office as I am now.
Cool.
But for some reason, my screen was very, very dark or something on the first scene, or maybe it was just hard to see in general. So I could barely tell what was going on. So when it opened with Crazy Train and some battle noises, it sounded like Lord of the Rings or something. I was a bit confused, and then I could tell there was a Santa who was angry, and I could tell there was an elf, but it seemed like the elf had like a weird face, but I couldn't really tell with my screen. So
this is what, us film school people call in media res, which means, we're kind of jumping in right in the middle of a scene.
Sure.
It's chaotic. We don't know what's happening. And that was what happened here. Yeah, like you said, it starts with Crazy Train. It was dark. It wasn't just you. I also have that note as well. Couldn't see what was happening. Yep. They were in a dark cave, I guess.
That's what it looked like. Some sort of tunnel or something.
But, hey, it's a Hollywood production. Let's get some lights up in there,
Jeez, Pete.
So the year is, it's 1307.
Yep.
Is AD?
AD, yeah.
AD, okay. I wrote AB. What's that? What the heck? 1307 AB. get a Eric Stonestreet, who's Magnus Anta's. We're going to be calling him the Mad Santa. He's kind of on the run, right? It seems that things. I watched this like 5 days ago, so I'm probably not going to be super sharp. It seemed as though the elves had turned against him.
Elf coup.
Yeah, and he was kind of on the run, and I don't know. That's kind of all I got.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty short and sweet, and then, like, all of a sudden we're in present-day Chicago, and we're with Chris, Gabriel Iglesias, that's his name, right?
Yeah, Chris Kringle, Gabriel Iglesias, he's known as being one of the most successful stand-up comedians around the world. Featured in the Hollywood Reporter's Top 40 Comedy Players of 2018 issue. Credits include Ferdinand, Magic Mike XXL, The Book of Life, The Nut Job, and Show Us Your Pets, which I know is one of your favorites.
I do like Ferdinand.
I didn't see it.
Animated feature that my kids like. So.
He's a bull, right? Ferdinand's a bull.
I think pretty much everyone's a bull in that movie.
A lot of bulls. Yeah, seems like Gabriel Iglesias, a lot of voice work of late. I honestly don't know a lot about him. The stand-up, I thought a lot of noises and stuff. So, I kind of thought it was lowbrow generally. But I never watched it, so I can't say if it was good or not. So.
Yeah, I don't have a lot of memory besides what you said as well. But now we're in Santopolis, and apparently Chris Kringle is a Santa of sorts, and he's trying to get kids to hang out on the sleigh. It's like a Santa Wonderland, essentially.
Maybe like Bronner's a little bit, huh?
Yeah, but it's got some outdoor stuff going on. Hard to tell if it's in its heyday or not, or it's struggling, but we'll find out more in a minute. And so a lot of cutting back and forth. We're cutting now to the sleigh with the family.
I'm guessing this is kind of
off, right?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah, that's my understanding that this is exactly where we left off. Yeah, it's like I don't want to be mean to these kids, but I think Tim Allen's daughter is pretty rough, just as a performer, and I worry about how that's going to manifest the rest of the season. Just the line deliveries are pretty rough, and we'll get to this at the end, but they are kind of setting her up as a more important character throughout the season. So the banter's pretty bad throughout the whole family. We got Cal, we got Sandra, we got Mrs. Claus, Mr. and Mrs. Claus, and they're just kind of, joshing it, going back and forth. There's maybe some talk about the sleigh ride being boring, so they go upside down and Cal passes out. This is the first of a couple of different setups, which are starting to indicate that Cal maybe isn't the right choice for Santa, which is kind of how the last season ended. Cal's going to be the heir apparent.
Yeah, and I guess we can get into this a little bit more later, but I felt like we left the last season thinking Cal would be a great Santa. So I feel like
it's a bit of a pivot.
Yeah, quite a big pivot. I guess you have to come up with some sort of new conflict, and they did very quickly. They also came up with a new intro, which they played, which, I don't know, hardly worth mentioning. It was just kind of the same to me, and that's fine.
Didn't even register.
Yeah. So, and then we go back, lots of back and forth here. We're at Santopolis, Chris is sleeping, and Scott Calvin is delivering some presents while Chris sleeps. And Chris wakes up with a snow globe, which is the big thing that was delivered at the end of last season to keep Christmas spirit alive, was all these snow globes with the magical memories of Christmas past.
How many days a year you think Santopolis is closed?
Google it.
Yeah, okay, I'll circle back on that next week. Yeah. It's got to be more than 4. I don't know. It does seem like business is kind of poor. Despite that, though, I thought. Chris, man, this character's name being Chris Kringle is going to be confusing.
It is, yeah.
The Gabriel Iglesias. But I think he had sort of a cozy, nice-looking apartment or home, based on whatever. They were talking about sort of the struggles of Santopolis, but he still had pretty nice digs. So I don't know. I think he's taken a pretty big slice of the cookie for himself, if you know what I mean. All right. Back at the North Pole, spirits at an all-time high, thanks to these globes.
They were at an all-time low not long ago.
Yeah, the KPIs are in. Q1 is booming. So yeah, hey, things are moving. It's the North Pole. Things change quickly. Everybody knows that. Don't question it. Just move on.
Sure.
Your boy Gary's back.
You know what?
Gary.
As soon as I saw him, I laughed. So
okay.
I was happy to see him.
He's a fan favorite amongst us.
No one else has talked about it, so we don't know.
they are setting up. I mean, we're getting a fair amount of Gary in this first episode, and Gary is
Yeah.
like a disgruntled, grizzled security guy.
Yeah, he's not disgruntled. He likes his job.
Yeah,
He might be
all right.
disgruntled in a little bit based on
Okay, all
who's
right.
his new boss.
Yeah,
But
he's grizzled, we'll say.
Yep.
Too much Gary in this for you, or not enough, or just right?
Yeah, I mean, they're going to go to the well too much. You know,
Mm-hmm.
last season was just like enough of him being a bit player, but you can tell he's going to take on a bigger role here.
Yeah.
So that's going to be tough. But yeah, when he said like, I don't remember who said it, but like Scott has new plans now that he's home. He wants to make everything a family business. He wants to upgrade ELFS. And then somebody, it might be Betty, says like Gary's incompetent and not liked, and he goes, "She ain't wrong," and I laughed. So
you liked it.
Gary gets me.
Yeah, it feels like kind of apropos of nothing. Elizabeth, what's Mrs. Claus? Carol, sorry. Carol is going to be revamping ELFS this season.
She wants
So
to
I
be the
think-
protector, she says.
she's taking over as that. So we're gonna get. I think we're gonna get a lot of her and Gary. So
Yeah, interesting pairing. And this is the second time we're going to get Betty not being sold on Cal as the next Santa. So yeah, we're getting a lot of that in this episode.
there was probably my best laugh of the episode. Maybe one of the only ones was. In these early scenes, or in this scene, I think they're at like kind of a long table, almost like a boardroom, and Betty is sort of outlining why Cal won't be a good Santa. And the camera pans to the left, and he's been sitting there the whole time, which is kind of funny. Good visual
Harsh,
gag.
but you know what? People got to be real.
You got to be real.
gotta be real. Authentic.
Sandra's, for me, Jordan, authenticity is so important.
It's key.
You know, it's absolutely key and essential. Sandra is in charge of all the animals still. And there's a lot of bad jokes about giving her a nickname. And it went on
Keeper
for
of
a
the
long
creatures,
time. Yeah.
Anna girl. Yeah, it's bad.
Yeah, last long time.
Cal's
Edie-
birthday as well.
Yeah, Edie delivers a cake. It's kind of like all of the young children, not young children, all of the elves played by young children are back. So anybody that you saw in the first season's back in this one, I felt.
If you were worried, they're all here.
Like, let's say you're
Crouton's there. I saw Crouton.
You're a big Crouton fan. Let's say you're a big Pontoon fan. They're both back.
Boom, baby. Yeah.
Get some Pontoon merch.
Cal gets a birthday wish, right?
Yeah.
And what does he wish for? His girlfriend, Riley. And she's there instantly. So I guess it came true. A lot of concerns. I think last season he was supposed to dust her, the Men in Black that you mentioned earlier, where it would erase her memory. And it seems like he did not follow through with that. So could be trouble later on.
Yeah.
Classic Cal.
Around this time, we learn, although we never really learn what it is, Kribble Krabble. The Kribble Krabble conversation starts.
I mean, were you confused by it?
I know what it is. Well, was I confused by it? Okay, I mean, I know what's going on. I didn't feel like I got enough information on it.
First,
Maybe
I
missed
thought it
something.
was going to be a Rumspringa type
That's
of thing.
kind of what that was my take, yeah.
But it ended up sounding like it was more like a sabbatical.
Okay, so Kribble Krabble, for those that don't know, it's I guess it's every elf's opportunity to go out in the real world and kind of, yeah, like you said, a sabbatical. And it's mandatory. And it's another example of this show and the Santa Claus universe adding another clause. There's so many at this point. Remember when there was just one? Remember when there was just one clause?
I mean, when there was two, that was plenty.
Back
But
in
yeah.
my day, there was only one clause.
Well, those were better days. And you know what? They know Betty, and they know that she won't take it. So ELFS is there to like enforce this Kribble Krabble.
Yeah.
So she's got to go.
The titular Kribble Krabble.
Titular. We move back to the reindeer stable. Sandra is playing peacekeeper between two reindeer. I did not write down their names, but
Donner and Blitzen, one's played by Neil Flynn of Scrubs fame, the other was Jack McBrayer of 30 Rock fame.
correct. Yep. Cal and Riley are walking around, and Cal, I wrote this down. I don't know what it is. Cal lets the secret out of the bag. What secret might that be? Do you know?
Cal lets the secret out of the bag that his dad is Santa Claus.
I think maybe. Oh, that he's going to be the next Santa. That's what he says.
Oh, yeah. Tasty. Secret.
It's funny that I did not write that down.
I'm looking around me because I don't want anybody locally to find out about the big secret that Cal's going to be Santa Claus.
Yes, you're being surveilled right now, so this is not going to be effective. And then, like, next scene, he's talking about how he wants to update some rules. His rules include a messenger bag, a train instead of a sleigh, and Riley's kind of all on board for a lot of these. He wants to update the hat. I think she draws the line there.
Riley likes biker dudes.
Yeah, we do get that later as well. Interesting line. Cal was like, what?
Interesting line indeed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, no, it's I mean there's all that. We cut back to Santopoulos briefly. Kris Kringle, Gabriel Iglesias has a child, it seems.
I don't even know if I wrote down that scene.
Okay, so, seems like he has a kid. I don't know. There's a child around talking about the snow globe. They're just continually sort of setting up the snow globe stuff.
It's magical.
It is magical, and Christmas spirit's at an all-time high. Don't question it. It is just the way it is. We cut back. This is where we get the Men in Black, dust illusions. So Scott wants Cal to dust Riley so that she doesn't know the secret that he's going to be Santa, I guess.
Yep.
I don't know.
Yeah. This is where I got really jarred because we moved to the next scene where they're in the elves workshop, and I was like, what's happening right now? Because there's some music, there's some dancing. It's very confusing. They eventually pan out, and you can tell it's on a screen. So I thought, is this the entertainment that the elves watch? But we learned that it's a recruitment video that Gary put together and Carol is reviewing, and apparently they made dozens of these. And this is when she breaks the news that she's the new boss to Gary. And dare I say they are going to be foils.
I don't think they're going to get along that well, honestly. I can see a lot of contention.
Seem like it. Yeah,
a little bit of a fire and ice thing. Yeah, I felt a little uncomfortable during the dancing with myself scene. Just went on a long time. A lot of little elves kind of dancing around. It was a little bit sexier than it needed to be, I felt. Yeah, it was like Kids Bop. Kind of reminded me of Kids Bop because it's lip syncing. Ultimately, when they panned out and it was part of something else, it made sense. But yeah, I did write, I'm going to get arrested at this coffee shop at that point in my notes, and it just felt a little queasy.
Yeah, that would be tough to have that on your computer.
It was tough. Yeah. What do we got here? So
go to the barber now, right?
Yeah, sounds about right.
Sounds like you skipped a scene. Scott's talking with his barber about the tough week. There's a joke here about he's been done a long time ago, but he thought they were bonding, which is it's fine. Betty comes in with the news about Kribble Krabble, and Scott is just pleased and suggests Noel to replace her because he can just steamroll Noel.
He's malleable. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've set this up, but there's opposition from basically everyone about Cal being Santa Claus, even Carol. But Scott is kind of bound and determined to have his son be the next Santa. And Betty's kind of leading that charge, so Scott views her leaving as an opportunity to really ensure that Cal is Santa. So it's a relief when the Kribble Krabble news comes in. Yeah. So everyone sees her off, her being Betty. And it's kind of sort of the same. We saw a similar scene last year where I think Noel leaves or something, but it looked very similar. They're in the same hallway and so on. But there's the promise that there's not going to be any big changes while Betty's gone. But of course, there are. Cut back to Magnus Antus.
Finally.
And isn't I'm going to save that joke for later. Okay. Magnus Santa is played by Eric Stonestreet. I'll do a quick bio here. Modern Family. You a big Modern Family guy?
We watched it for a little bit. I thought it was mildly entertaining.
Best known for Modern Family, 250 episodes. Whoa. The Loft, The Secret Life of Pets, Almost Famous, and one of your favorites, Jordan.
You're always looking for the most obscure.
Sophia the First. Yeah, I know you like that one.
Oh, I do like Sophia the First.
Hey, finally got one.
Who's he playing? Sophia the First.
Well, why he's Sophia the First, of course. No.
No.
He plays Minimus.
Oh, yeah, the horse, of course.
Yeah, of course, the horse. Yeah, Eric Stone Street. It's interesting because I really know him predominantly from that one Modern Family role. So to see him as this kind of crazy Santa, it's a change of pace.
Bit of turn, yeah. I don't think I've ever seen him really in anything else, and I didn't know he was Minimus. So yeah,
he was not one of the Santas that we saw last year, though, right? In the Yuleverse kind of flashback
I feel like they
episodes.
did mention a Mad Santa, so at least it was mentioned, but I could be wrong there as well.
Okay, yeah.
I did not watch that season twice.
Yeah, I would have, but I was busy.
Just time. You got married. There was no time.
There has not been any time lately to. Yeah, I yearn for the days when I could rewatch season 1 of the Santa Clauses, but those days are past.
Alas. So is this the flashback where like Mad Santa's in chains?
Yeah.
And they turn him into a nutcracker. The nutty nutcracker.
Is I didn't feel like there was a lot of explanation, but he's just kind of off the rails. They didn't give specifics about what he's doing necessarily, but
the only thing I remember them mentioning during the episode was like he moved the headquarters of the North Pole to the North Pole from Europe because humans got magic or something. And there's like some abuse or something that he says he was harsh. I didn't write it down, but he seems like a bad dude all the way around.
He moved the headquarters from Europe to the North Pole, and they're saying he's crazy. It'd be crazy to keep the headquarters there.
I mean, the problem is, you know how those property values went up?
Yeah, I do know how those property values went up. Dang it.
Probably sold too low.
Magnus Santos, isn't that the governor of Florida?
Close enough.
All right. That was the joke I wanted to come back to. Awesome.
Worth it. Worth every second.
Yeah.
Back to present day. The Nutcracker is missing, and we have Carol's first case. So we do learn a very important plot point here. If it touches North Pole magic, something terrible will happen. He will come back.
They make up so much lore in this. Like this whole show,
wild.
they're just making up lore as they go. There are so many and anytime they want to get out of something, they can just skip over it. But yeah, just more made up lore. Brought it so, and this was like really convenient. Or this seemed strange. So how did and again, I'm trying to remember things. So there's they turn him into a nutcracker, and then next thing you know, we're at Kris Kringle's Santopoulos workshop, and he bought it off of someone in Norway?
Yes, he's a big Santa fan, so he bought that nutcracker off eBay, and then obviously he has the snow globe, because everyone has the snow globe.
Yeah.
So just a recipe for disaster. We learn here as well that his dad, Chris's dad, is kind of like the money behind the business, and he's ready to shut everything down. He touches the globe and the magic disappears, so just obviously doesn't believe in Christmas.
Not a good sign.
The globe drops, the nutcracker falls, and they touch, and Return of Mad Santa. Lots of screaming back and forth between Chris and Mad Santa. They don't know what to make of each other.
Yeah. Yeah. Mad Santa's kind of scary.
A little bit. He's got a gruff voice. He looks a little rough around the edges.
Mad Santa forms. We cut back. I wouldn't say that Tim Allen has a lot to do in this episode, really.
No, not so much.
Yeah, my only note is that he was wearing like a lot of cool like jacket sport coats. So he looked kind of cool in that. His continued concern is I don't want to lose Cal. I want Cal to be Santa, blah, blah, blah. One thing we've probably brushed over a little bit is that Sandra she's in charge of the animals, but she's really struggling because she can hear them and they're talking to her, and they're just like, it's just a barrage of voices. Incessant. It won't stop. There's a joke about the winter net. What do you make of that?
I thought, what am I doing here? That's what I thought of it. Oh no! Yeah.
Sandra displays some powers here at the end. Can you kind of remind me what those were?
I don't know exactly what happened, but she gets really frustrated, and like magic seems to explode from her. Some sort of magical aura. So that'll come back.
She's basically got the power, and Cal doesn't.
Cal had some power in the first season, if we recall, but apparently
his
not
power
anymore.
Sucks.
Well, so does this episode. Santopoulos Chris is trying to be nice to Mad Santa because he's like a huge Santa fan. So he's
a
like,
nice guy. He is a heart of gold, Santopoulos. I don't think we're setting up a Cal Penn thing where this guy's going to turn bad.
No. I don't know what's going to happen, but we do know that Mad Santa's mad, and that's kind of how this episode ends.
Yeah, direct quote, "The real Santa's a fraud." That's what Mad Santa says. That's blasphemous. And then we roll credits, fade to black on Kribble Krabble. Kribble Krabble, more like Dribble Drabble.
My favorite part about this episode?
The end.
Well, it was 28 minutes or something like that, and I was like, cool. At least this is not an hour long.
Brisk. Yeah, they're going to keep them short. I don't feel like they have... I don't think there's enough meat on the bone for a second season of this show.
Oh, they're going to be squeezing the juice.
I am shocked this came back, and this episode did not do anything to convince me otherwise. Jordan, highs and lows on this bad boy.
Highs and lows. Okay. You know, so far the fluffy guy, fine. He seems endearing.
Sure.
So we'll see where that goes. So I guess his performance is a high. I want to root for him. So they did a good job of setting that up. Any other highs? I don't know, man. I mean, more Gary, less problems, I guess, in my view. So that's...
That was all. I almost did a Mo blank.
Yeah, we've done that a few times as well. Yeah, I mean, a lot of lows here for me. It's just like, okay, I couldn't even see what was happening in the first scene. I was so jarred with Crazy Train, and I was like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
They really quickly undo all the good stuff that happened in season 1 and ended season 1, so that's kind of rough. I don't know. I kind of, like, as much as Betty is kind of annoying, I think she's one of the better children, so to know that she's going to be gone for a while, that's maybe a little disappointing.
Sure.
I don't know. They got nowhere to go but up after this one, so I guess that's a high.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. Before I give mine, I'll just ask you, do you think that this episode was like markedly worse than what we saw last season, or do you think it was kind of in keeping with some of the weaker episodes from season 1?
I think it's pretty on par. I don't know that, like, especially I forgot, and then I listened to that season finale, and we had pretty tepid reviews of that. So I think we're probably about on the same level as we were before. Sure. We'll see how it's going, but yeah, your point about like they're just constantly writing lore and stuff like that. It's like it's more complicated than the multiverse in Marvel, you know. And that's
also, hey, I'll take your word for it. I didn't even watch She-Hulk Attorney at Law. She-Hulk. All right, Jordan. So much like you, I echo some of the same issues. I'll start with my highs. I think that Mad Santa has potential to be a more compelling villain than what was outlined in the first season. I'm not, we don't get a lot from the character in this first one, but I do see a path to, maybe it's closer to what we saw in the second Santa Claus movie, where there's the evil Santa and the big, like tin soldiers and something like that, which honestly, this show kind of makes me yearn for the glory days of Santa Claus 2, which I don't even really like. But there's there's something if you made of that.
A little more nefarious. That's fine. Yeah.
I think the Betty Kribble Krabble thing could be interesting just in so much as it's like a fish out of water thing. So I do think she's easily the best child actor and probably one of the better actors on the show. So maybe getting her in like Chicago or somewhere out in the world and kind of mixing it up with the laypersons could be compelling. So my highs are not necessarily anything that happened in this episode, but
you're
maybe
just hopeful.
The potential.
Yeah.
I did like. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of like one-dimensional, but sure, the Fluffy's character is a nice guy, and hey, nice guys deserve good things. And I did laugh at the one joke where they're talking about Cal and he's down the table later on. Lows. I don't like Cal or Sandra. I don't think they're very interesting, very compelling. I don't think they're great performers. Honestly, I don't really care who the next Santa Claus is, which I think is a problem because that's the whole show.
Who are you rooting for?
Yeah,
I guess it's going to
hard.
be Kris Kringle at the end of this. We'll see.
I would be fine with that. I mean, there's just like this show tries so hard to be funny with jokes, but I wrote down a note here, and I don't know if I'll be able to articulate it, but like, there's a difference between being clever and funny. Like, I feel like this show is always just trying to be sort of quippy and clever with, like, one-liners or kind of lame internet speak. And honestly, I wish that they would just sort of, like, have funny scenes or silly jokes or, I don't know. I feel like they're overthinking it a little bit. Like, the funniest parts from the first Santa Claus, it's not like the whippy repartee, right? It's just sort of like funny situations or, they're at Denny's, wherever
Denny's.
that,
Hardee's would be a different.
That would be even more depressing. But just like stuff like that. So I don't know. I wish that the jokes are just kind of bad. Scott Kelvin doesn't seem to learn. I feel like this character, it seems like we didn't get very much of him in this episode, but it seems like this is almost like closer to the sort of arrogant ad man we saw at the beginning of the first movie. Like, he doesn't listen to anybody. I mean, I'm not saying he's a bad guy, but he seems so dead set. Whereas we've seen all this growth and so on, it just sort of feels like they're undoing it a little bit. But yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Other than that, I liked it.
Other than that, 10 out of 10. All right,
man.
well, we got our work cut out for us, and we'll see where episode 2 takes us.
Yeah, what's the name of episode 2? I have some Twitter stuff, but just for curiosity's sake, have you watched it?
I have not watched it. It is Floofy.
Oh, that's a play on Fluffy.
Yeah.
Dude, hilarious.
Hilarious.
Yeah, and I mean, we're going to be a little bit behind what the actual schedule is, so I'm not sure if people are watching this or not, so it probably doesn't really matter, but we'll be a little bit behind on stuff. So, hey, that's just the way it is. Talk
to me about social media.
Yeah, I'm going to cut to Twitter real quick. So I did a couple polls. We had an episode come out about a month ago on the Haunted Mansion. Give that a listen. I think it's pretty fun. Not too bad for guys who hadn't done it in about a year. A couple of polls here. Did you enjoy the 2023 Haunted Mansion film? 11 total votes. 18.2% said yes. 27.3% said no. 54.5% said, what's that? We just heard back from one person. Jason Carey said, we had to watch the new one over 3 nights because we could not get into it. The original we got done in one sitting because we enjoyed it. Miss you guys and excited to hear from you. So,
miss you too.
Miss you too, Jason. Which is a good dovetail into my other poll. That question was, did you friggin' miss us? 8 total votes. 37.5% said yes. 62.5% said, hell yes. We back. Home Permit Podcasting Kings, not friggin' grunt work. Those guys can get bent.
Oh my. Wonderful work on social media as always.
Thanks, Jordan.
I assume we have nothing in the mailbag.
No, nothing in the mailbag.
Okay.
As the show goes on, we'll probably beef up the social media a little bit. But, when we take breaks between episodes, there's just not the engagement.
Stuff.
I mean, this isn't the Santa Claus's, where Christmas spirit's at an all-time high. We have to work to build things here. This is the real world.
And we will. Well, that's wonderful. Yeah. I at the very least, I enjoyed talking Christmas with you. And I'm excited to see you in a couple days. So
I'm excited to see you too, Jordan. And the worst episode of the Santa Claus TV show, if it means I'm talking to my dear buddy, then it's no chore at all.
People can't see it, but I'm crying.
Oh, I can see it, you big crybaby. So
you big lug.
The next episode's called Floofy.
Floofy. That's what we're covering next time.
Wow, that is going to be a blast. Well, until next week when we cover Floofy, Jordan, thank you for joining me. Listeners, thank you for listening. And I guess I should say, take care.
Take care, everybody.